It's international break. Well, you know that anyway. That's why we asked you for questions to give us suggestions to make videos about this from Mark Watson, who wants to know about the players whose contracts are expiring at the end of this season. What are we going to do with them? We're going to keep them. We're going to bin them. We're going to have a chat about them. Gio's got the list here right now, and that's what we're going to discuss in this video.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mark, for your question. And first of all, might as well start at the back, Gonzo. We've got Lukas Fabianski. He's first up. So are we keeping him? Give him a new deal? Or are we going to try and flog him in January and get some moolah while we can?
I don't think he's no moolah. There's no money to be had from selling Lukas Fabianski. I don't think that's the case. I think it's time to move him on. Really, I think I can't believe he's stayed as long as he has, and I don't mean like he's outstayed his welcome. Far from it. We just done a video 5 minutes before this, talking about the most influential players over since the 2014-2015 season. He was in there. He made our top 10. So I don't think we're giving a spoiler by saying that particularly. And well, I really appreciate him. I really do, but there's been much talk this season about whether we should improve the goalkeeper situation. Some even suggesting that Alphonse Areola should be the reserve keeper himself, and we should make an improvement there. I'm not sure necessarily I agree about that, but I do think if we're going to look to make an improvement on it, then Fabianski is the guy that you possibly upgrade. I'm not sure we're going to have the money to do it. I'm not sure there's a ton of goalkeepers out there who are loads better than him, but I still think he's a good shot stopper, but I think now's the time. Now's the time. It all depends on Lopetegui, of course, because Lopetegui does like to pass it out from the back. He does like that anyway. So I think when we're going to play that high line, it probably is advantageous possibly to have a goalkeeper who's comfortable with the ball at his feet, which Fabianski is not. Yeah, I'd probably let him wave goodbye with a thank you.
I'm more. It depends on two things for me. One is obviously what does Fabianski want to do? He might not want to stay anyway, but if we just count that for a second, because that would be no fun in the video, because you could apply it to every single player we to discuss. The second thing that depends on for me is, do we have European football next season or not? Now, we won't know until the end of the season, but we'd have a good idea in January time if we could expect to have it next season. If we're sitting 12th, then I think it's fair to say, no, we're not going to have any sort of European football. That plays its part because the last few seasons we've been able to keep Fabianski and Areola content at worst because there's enough game time to go around. And this season there isn't. Obviously, Fabianski played the Carabao Cup, but when you get knocked out after 2 games, he's got to wait until January now before he gets to play in the FA Cup, assuming he gets to be the FA Cup goalkeeper. I have a feeling Fabianski's not too keen on this role. He's sort of hinted about it a little bit, and I don't think he was too happy with being the Europa League goalkeeper last season. I think he'd rather have played the Premier League, and Areola was the cup goalkeeper still.
Yeah.
But at least then he was still getting plenty minutes in quite a prestigious competition as well. This season, I can only assume he's really not happy with his lack of game time at the moment. But he still looked really good when called upon, whether it be the cup and in pre-season. He's looked really good. I think I'm more than happy to keep him on next season if he's willing to be here. We've got quite a good young crop of goalkeepers at West Ham at the minute. A lot of them involved with their countries. You know, Heggie's sitting on the bench at Motherwell, which is unfortunate, but he's gone away to play with Hungary. We've got some of the younger goalkeepers are in the younger England squads. Teddy's doing really well out on loan at Hornchurch and coming back and playing in the big games for West Ham under 21s as well.
Yeah, he had a really good. He was. I can't remember what game it was. That was man of the match for me.
So Benfica,
but maybe it was a 2-2 with Benfica. You might be. Yes, in fact, you're absolutely right. Yeah, he was man of the match. Guilherme scored the second goal. Yeah.
So we've got a good crop of young goalkeepers at West Ham, but I don't think they're quite ready yet for the bench at West Ham. And actually, I think it goes in line with Wes Fodringham's contract, which expires this following summer, so summer 2026. And that might be a good summer to take stock of your goalkeeper and say, right, we need to upgrade on Areola. Fabianski and Fodringham's gone. Do we have a youngster? Yeah, he's the third choice keeper. Let's bring in a 32, 33-year-old that's can come in for a year or two now. I think if Fabianski is willing to stay for another year, Gonzo, I would keep him around. I can only imagine he's a really good influence on the training ground as well. And Mark Noble, I remember a podcast he did, said that Fabianski's the calmest player you get. Like, he's just so calm and composed. And I don't think you can have too many of them around the training ground, especially when you've got such a young, talented crop of goalkeepers coming through. Moving on to Aaron Cresswell.
Yeah, I'd let Aaron Cresswell go. I'm sorry, it's probably sound like I'm going to let everyone go. Again, I appreciate everything he's done, and I really do. You know, what a great player, great servant. But this season there have been times when Emerson hasn't looked at his best. And the answer has been to play our right back there. Well, we can't have that. We need somebody to put pressure on Emerson that's not Wan-Bissaka. I like Wan-Bissaka over there, but it just creates a problem on the right-hand side for us, which we don't have to basically solve one problem, creates another. Yeah, that's not what you want with problem solving. You just want the problem to solve the original problem. So I would, Gio. I really would for that. And not only I'm not talking about cover. I think there's an opportunity there to bring someone in better than Emerson. So they're actually fighting it out for that. I think he's done really well, you know, and to be fair, he probably was expected to leave 2 seasons ago. So I think he's done a miraculous job, and I think, you know, should have had his testimonial really.
I completely agree. I wouldn't, even if there was a hypothetical offer on the table in January, even if there's someone willing to take him for free, or just take him off our hands, I'd say no to that. Say no, we're gonna let him see it out, go in the summer. I'm not sure anyone from the under-21s is good enough to step into the first team yet, like Ollie Skiles. I think he's maybe a season or 2 away from doing that. So I agree with you. I think next summer, I wouldn't be surprised if left back is near the top of our shopping list, actually, a significant purchase at left back. So yeah, I completely agree. Let Cresswell see it out, and I hope the club do the right thing and get something arranged for Cresswell, but not just for Cresswell, because I don't think he's the only player. And if there's a way they can make it so that 1 or 2 players in particular were playing like Ogbonna, then it would be a nice event for us to say thank you to a lot of players. Can we play Real Betis still, so Fanals can come back and give us all a cheerio? But yeah,
and so Uncle Paqueta can have a bet on it as well. That'd be really good. And before we talk about any more squad trimming, I want to talk about a very, very different kind of trimming with you guys, which is, of course, this video being sponsored by Manscaped. You've been looking at me sort of longingly throughout the video and wondering just how I got such an amazing manicured Mexican-like moustache. Then the answer to your question, which I no doubt you did ask, mentally at least, is through Manscaped. No, this isn't a purse. I know it looks like a purse. This is my trimmer pouch. I got my trimmer pouch with my trimmer. Now, this here is the Lawnmower 5.0, an absolutely marvelous bit of kit, but I don't even think it's the best bit of kit they do. But if you want a downstairs trimmer, a pube trimmer, this is the very job for you. It's got interchangeable nozzles, it's waterproof, it's got a bloody torch so you can see your pecker in the shower, and it's got ceramic blades so you don't cut yourself, which is definitely not what you want to do. They got a wonderful range of products. My favorite one is the beard trimmer. It's got an adjustable nozzle, so you can do 0.5 there. You can do number like 4.5 there. Do what you want. It's a lovely, lovely bit of kit. We're going to give you 20% off of all of their merchandise. I've been using beard trimmers, male grooming kits for years and years and years. That stuff is the best. I'm not lying to you. I promise you. It's absolutely brilliant. However, when you go onto the Manscaped website, links in the description below, just type Manscaped into Google. It'll ask you if you've got a discount code. Well, I'll tell you what you do. Gio, what's the discount code?
Hammers Chat Pubes.
It is indeed. Gets you 20% off plus free shipping. Go and check it out. They have got aftershaves, they got balms, they got shavers, they got nostril hair trimmers, weed whackers, boxer shorts, travel packs, everything you need. Go and get your 20% off now. Link is in the description below. What's next?
Well, from shaving hair to someone trying to grow hair, it's Danny Ings.
He don't want it, does he? He don't want the trim. He said, "Get that stuff away from me."
And he's our Manscaped looking for a long grower.
This is good stuff. This is fine form from you there. Fanny Stings. No, I'd get rid of her. To be perfectly honest with you,
I'd cash in on January.
Would you?
If you could get something for him, I would. Even to be fair, even if it was a free transfer, I'd let him go because the amount of money it saves the club for 6 months at 100 grand a week. It's a significant sum.
Mm.
Obviously, it depends on if he plays between now and then. I'm open to change my mind, right? If he starts playing loads of games, and no, don't. But currently, looking at his lack of involvement, and that's with Fulkrug injured, then I would be looking to move him on in the January transfer window if possible, just to save a little bit of cash.
I think I'm getting rid of everyone. I agree with you. I agree with you. January, yeah. I think I would. Do you know what? I guess there's many respects we've done it right in terms of this. The players that appear to be, unless you're going to throw me a curveball now, someone I haven't particularly thought of, the
No.
players whose contracts are running down are sort of the guys whose time is coming to an end. So West Ham have not always been great at that, by the way. And I think there's probably a lot of questions were probably asked when I think when Cresswell got his new contract. If you remember, do you remember Cresswell and Masuaku both got a contract at the same time? Then we gone on given Cresswell another year. Obviously, there were question marks about Danny Ings as well being signed in the first place. I do wonder with Ings if he will want to go. I know the suggestion is that he turned down a move to Southampton in the summer. I wonder if it happens again. He might think, yeah, okay, fair enough. He might, by that point, just want to go and play some football. I'd do the same if we could offload him, get a couple of pence and his wages off the wage bill. Then I'd do that in January as well.
Well, the circumstances have changed from Danny Ings because in the summer you could forgive him for saying, "No, I'm going to stay at West Ham, new gaffer, I'm going to show him what I've got." But
Yeah,
actually, that reason's removed now because he's no longer in January. You still ain't getting game time. You don't have that reason to stay. The only reason to stay is financially. That's the only reason you'd be remaining at West
yeah.
Ham. If it ain't game time, it ain't change of regime. It just comes down to money. Two more players remaining on the list, Gonzo, and we're going to go with Vladimir Coufal.
Who's the other one?
Michail Antonio.
Oh dear. Oh, I'll stick with Soufal for the moment then.
I feel like I've tried to save the most controversial ones till the end. You know,
Yeah, you have. Yeah, I was looking to put it off Soufal, but it's not really any easier. Yeah,
I wouldn't sell him. I wouldn't sell Soufal.
not in January.
I don't
But
think he's worth
if his
anything.
contract's coming to an end, I wouldn't be annoyed if they gave him another year. By the way, I wouldn't be annoyed, but I wouldn't personally. I wouldn't give him one. If you pardon the expression, well, both. I'd, I would hope to think, there's a double fullback solution going on here. I think the fact I need to see this happen one more time to be convinced of it. But I think the fact that he was on the bench and Mavropanos was used right back ahead of him was an indicator. I need to see it a second time to see if that was just a sort of an error or an emergency. I'd be interested to see it. I don't want to see Mavropanos playing at right back. I'm not necessarily saying he should be a long-term right back. I just mean if it comes to the point where Soufal has now become our third right back, then I think the game's up for him. But I think it might be anyway. But what a great servant he's been, by the way. These are all really good players.
There's players with a big legacy at West Ham that are potentially departing next summer. Fabianski's been here for a number of seasons. Cresswell a decade. Antonio coming up to a decade. Soufal's been here for quite some time now. It's only really Danny Ings that doesn't have much of a legacy at the team. And they've all won the Conference League with us. But in regards to the substitute that you refer to, it all depends on how you see the game. I don't think Mavropanos played right back. I think we had a change of style and we almost played like a hybrid three at the back a little bit, and it meant Wan-Bissaka bombing on down that left. So I think it was the substitution was so that we could change our system rather than a personnel choice. It was a player best suited to play in this way, and part of that was centre back. With Soufal, it's a tricky one because I think I'd wait as long as possible before deciding on him, because we haven't seen enough of him this season to see if he can. I don't want to use the phrase "still do it" because it feels a bit harsh, but you understand what I mean when I say that, though. But also,
for sure.
if you were to offload him, what are you going to do in the summer? Because I ain't having it that we're going to splash out a load of money on a right back. We needed a significant right back in the summer, and we hit 50 million and started to get a little bit jittery with that. So I can't see us spending big on a right back, and I don't think we can afford to. And I'm not sure Wan-Bissaka would take too kindly if we brought somebody in to replace him already. But hang on a minute. What does make this interesting, though, is Kyle Walker-Peters' contract expires next summer. So there could be a very, very cheap alternative to Vladimir Coufal next summer available. They're still working on a contract. Southampton are trying to get him to sign a new contract, but he's not played the last couple of games because I assume it's because of the contract situation. He's been on the bench, and they've got a good right back now because they replaced him in the summer with the expectancy they were going to sell him. So there might be a situation in which Walker-Peters is free, which would then mean get rid of Coufal because we can get this guy in. I just don't believe we'd spend more. I think we'd maybe spend a few million on the right back, but I don't think we'd spend a considerable amount. And when I said I'm not sure we've got a left back ready to come into the team, I'm not sure we've got a right back one. I think the likes of Robinson and Batcham are a little bit a couple of years away.
Robinson is a wing. I can't even ever be a right back. He's a wing. He's bloody talented. He's a wing back for me.
But even if he was a right back, he still feels quite some way away from being ready for the first team. So we'd have to replace Coufal. I just don't see us spending money to bring in a second choice right back. So I'd wait and see for Coufal. At the minute, I'm on the side of let him go. But he's the one I'm most likely to change my mind. Actually, I'm not sure because we've got Michail Antonio now.
Well, he's also a right back.
And a right wing back.
Absolutely. I would keep Antonio on. Only, well, I say only. It's up to the club to this. I want Antonio to be Danny Ings.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be sprouting new hair and stuff like that. I want him to be the third choice striker and sat on the bench because actually he might come on as a winger or something like that. He wouldn't be able to get his wages that he's getting now. He'd have to take a bit of a wage cut. But to be fair, he's, nearly 45 or whatever he is. And he's probably about that time where he's probably going to be winding down anyway.
I'm not even sure his wages are that big, though.
I thought they were sort of 80 grand a week or something.
Yeah, but that's probably the average wage of our squad at the minute. I mean, you think about how many players are paid more than him. I'd imagine he's quite, not at the bottom of the list, certainly, but I'd be surprised if he's in the top 5, 6 earners.
Maybe. Well, anyway, I don't think it would be unreasonable for him. I don't think he's moving anywhere from West Ham at the end of the season and getting more than that anyway. I think he's going and getting, for the last 2 years, a 50, 60 grand a year contract, unless he goes to Saudi. But that looks like the money's drying up from that anyway. The actual number of players they did sign was far down this year on the previous one. I would keep him around. I would, but for too long, and everyone that's watching this video knows this, and there's not anyone that disagrees with this. He's just been too influential. He's been too important because we can't get the main striker situation right. There's no way we should be in this situation where that we have now. We have Füllkrug there, and our Füllkrug's got an injury. It's always going to happen. We're always one injury, one knock, or one player not settling in away from Michail Antonio being the important guy as striker. He's basically, we try and replace him. He's second in charge, and then he ends up playing all the time. He needs to be third. He needs to be third choice rather than second.
Yeah, I think, again, I wouldn't decide just yet because too soon. And even if come January, I know that he can then start negotiating with overseas clubs, but I'd be very surprised if one came in for him in January and tried to get him on a pre-contract. So I think West Ham can take their time with this one. I think there's more chance of Coufal signing a pre-contract with someone in January than Michail Antonio, for example. And it would be a case of waiting and seeing, but certainly haven't ruled it out just yet. And listen, I thought he was fantastic against Ipswich. But it was the 7th game of the season, 7th penalty game of the season. It's taken a little while for him to get warmed up in that regard. However, the role you're discussing, I think, would be fine for him, which is Füllkrug, a new striker, Michail Antonio.
Yeah.
I think that's a handsome trio of options to have going forward into the new season at the minute, and like you said, could possibly play out wide if needed. because you can have 9 players on the bench as well, there might be some games he wouldn't make the cut, but if you had him on the squad, then he's a fantastic option to have as well. So yeah, I wouldn't. Whilst I wouldn't agree, I'd be more. Whereas Sufan more on the side of let him go at the end of the season. With Antonio, I'm probably more on the side of give him a new contract, because I feel like we've got his contracts wrong. Antonio's. I feel like we gave him too many years and contracts a bit too quickly at times. Whereas this one, I think this might be one of the first times that the club have the negotiating power going into it with Antonio, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
it's
for
a
sure.
1 year contract. That you said the wages are a bit lesser, and it would suit us, and it just buys time for gives Callum Marshall one more
Yep.
year out on loan. Who's picking up significant moments for Huddersfield and away with Northern Ireland at the
Yeah, yeah.
minute as well. So he's having a really good season in terms of progress. But there's a big jump from Huddersfield to West Ham, and I think another year, a bit like what Ferry Potts has done, get out to a Championship side and get minutes there. Then he may become the replacement for Michail Antonio. So yeah, I'm all right with that option, Gonza. So to summarise, because we're both quite the same here, which is well, you say goodbye Fabianski, say goodbye Cresswell, probably say goodbye Coufal, keep Antonio, and definitely say goodbye to Danny Ings.